folks, welcome to Board Game Breakfast. I'm your host, Tom Vasel, and I'm glad you're here to talk about board games and the folks who play them. This is an exciting week for us because this is the week in which we do Dice Tower 18 games, maybe 24 live marathon. I don't know, the guys are trying to talk me into playing 24 hours worth. I'm not sure, but put the date down. It's this coming Friday. We're going to start at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we're going to go to 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Saturday following. We might go farther than that. Now, how we're going to do this is we're going to put 4 videos up on the website for live videos, and so we're going to do 6 hours, 6 hours, 6 hours, and then maybe a fourth 6 hours. We'll see. And you can watch those. And if you did it last year, or I guess it was January this year, but it's about a year ago, you can talk to the people there with comments. We'll have some listings there of games that we might be playing during the different times. And hopefully it will be entertaining for you. And hopefully we'll see if we can make it through and at least show you some great games. I'll also be doing a live question and answer today, very soon actually. It's going to be at noon Eastern Standard Time. So if you have any questions or things about Dice Tower or myself in general, I'll be talking about those then. But hey, it is time for the news. Okay, first in our news, GMT has announced some new games, or some games that are coming out. These have already been announced. A whole pile of little games. Taiwan, a new expansion for the Commands and Colors Napoleonics, the Prussian Army. Eagle and Griffin have finally made it official. It's one company, Eagle Griffin. About time. They combined the logos. You can see them here. It's always been basically one company, but they had some games in the Eagle line, some in the Griffin. If you said which lines are in which, which games are in which line, it never was really clear. This should clarify everything for everybody. Asmodee has announced that they will be the ones to be publishing Mysterium, which is the English name of this Polish game, which I cannot pronounce. Ignacy Trzewiczek can pronounce it. It was a very big hit at BGG-Con. Everybody and their brother and sister were playing it. So check this one out. It's supposed to be coming out at Gen Con. Z-Man has announced that it's going to be reprinting Lords of Scotland. I reviewed this a few years ago. Very small, light, interesting card game. It's good to see this one coming back. Ananda Gupta, one of the 2 co-designers for Twilight Struggle, was talking online and mentioned that he's working on an expansion for Twilight Struggle. Wah! And Fantasy Flight Games on their website had a picture of a cover of Tigris and Euphrates. Tigris and Euphrates came out almost 15 years ago. It is an exceptionally well-designed game for Reiner Knizia, considered by many people to be his best game. This will be interesting to see this one reprinted. Today we're going to talk about this shelf here, which is my Haba shelf, or one of my Haba shelves. This is a company that makes games for kids. First we have this wooden box here, which is Carcassonne the City. This is the wooden version. You can get it in a box version. Carcassonne the City is my favorite version of all the Carcassones, although I do like regular Carcassonne with all the expansions. But this one actually has wooden wall pieces in it, and it's a great one to introduce new people to. It's a very great contained game. Since my regular Carcassonne has gone berserk, this is a good one. Then we have this Escape from the Aliens in Outer Space. Now this is the collector's edition. It's not really that much different than the regular version, except this box is white. The regular one is black. It's a kind of a game in which you're all writing down where you're moving. In Scotland Yard, one person writes down where he's moving. In this one, everybody does, and they're trying to hide where they are. Very tense, very fun, creepy game almost. I like it. So then we got the 5 Haba games here. Animal upon Animal. There's many versions of this one. This is one where you stack wooden animals on top of each other. Try not to make them fall. Highly entertaining. Grab Bag is a game where you have these bags with all different kinds of pieces inside them, and you're supposed to be pulling out a specific piece based on feel. A tactile game. Knuckling Knights is an okay game, but it comes with its own built-in dice tower where you're basically dropping these knights into the dice tower. Very fun. My kids like socks, or they like losing socks, so this game about matching socks is a fun one. And then Monza is one of the best Haba games probably. This is a racing game in which you roll dice and then you're trying to move cars based on the colors that you rolled. This one says $5 to $99, but you might be able to even get a younger kid to be able to play this. So that's what's on that shelf.
Hello, welcome to my opinion of the Blue Sun expansion for the Firefly board game. Now, I enjoyed the Blue Sun expansion a great deal. I spent most of the game floating around in the Blue Sun territory. I learned some very valuable lessons. Number one, if you're in the Blue Sun area, do not fly. Mosey. Just take the extra time because there's so many damn reavers hanging out there that anytime you do anything, reavers. I'm going to spend some fuel and go to hit reavers. Also, if you have a cargo hold filled with fuel that you fought tooth and nail for to get to Miranda to pick up, and then you go sell it to your contact, don't have in your hold a known fugitive and a bunch of warrants for your arrest. Because you know what? You go from money to no money. Now, that being said, I enjoyed this game. My friend Zach, probably not so much. Reavers suck. The end. This has been a production of Russ's Corner.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to the 3rd annual Snakes and Lattes Katanathon.
Hey! A little toy I brought from the future.
Oh, how's the future?
It sounds like this!
Yeah! What is the preferred terminology for that? Brick or clay?
I say we are completely narrating last year's work.
3rd annual Katanathon, and every single year we discuss whether it's clay or brick.
No, not my head. Not my
So it's a circle for
A circle, anywhere you wish.
circle and then a road. Okay. How do I fix
Wipe
this?
her down.
Someone
Start
help.
again.
That's it. I'm going for a shower.
We built this city on weed and stone.
Seriously?
Can't believe I'm tied with clowns.
Due to the loss of the Falcon, I don't have much at the moment. The Falcon is in italics, ladies and gentlemen, so I believe that means he's talking about, of course, a Ford Falcon, a classic car from the 60s.
Or it could be his spaceship.
How much of a donation would be required to see me and Scott have a Shakespearean slap fight? I don't even know.
I don't know what that is.
To be or not to be? I think that's a Shakespearean slap fight.
That is the question, whether 'tis nobler than mine to stop the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune or take up arms against the sea of troubles and by opposing end them.
Oh, come on! Come on!
Oh, Starfish!
No!
So imagine if you had to build a road all the way to a hex before you found out if it was a 6 or a 2.
Does anyone else have this?
Yes, that is supposed to be your hat, but since your nose is broken, your hat doesn't stay on. That's a sentence I just said.
So, are there roads?
No, not exactly.
No, it's the future where we're going. You don't
We
need
build
roads.
spaceships and send them off into space.
I think I like this better than regular Catan.
You're
delirious.
You're
You're
broken.
Yeah.
Oh, diabolical. He's just gonna hang there until we...
There he goes.
Oh!
We raised $2,675 for the Canadian Cancer Society. We obliterated last year's record for hours and for amount raised, and that's amazing, so thank you.
All right, here we have a spyglass from Robinson Crusoe. This is a promo item. I believe it's available at the Board Game Geek store. But what makes this interesting is this promo, this is basically, you're looking through the spyglass, waiting for a ship to come rescue, and it never comes. So you break it in disgust, and it gives you 5 points worth of courage, and so that's kind of a useful thing. But you actually have to take it and, destroy it. And so, I mean, I guess you can only do it once. Now, for some people that was probably a horrific thing, and for that I apologize. Perhaps it would be less horrific if you just used a scissors or something. I guess you could even break it into multiple pieces if you wanted to. So there's that. Or I guess you could just, you don't have to actually rip it. You could just crumble it up into a little ball like that. So anyway, I thought that was a very unique promo. Now let's take a look at the January organized play rewards for the Marvel Dice Masters game. Here we have, there's 3 cards. First we have Marvel Girl, who's pretty handy because when you're attacked, you can spin her up a level, and if you do, you get 2 life. So it's a very useful 5-point card. This is one I would take. Then we have Emma Frost, who's one of the villain versions of the White Queen, who can basically, you can pay a shield to replace an opponent's fist character with a sidekick from the opponent's use. So if they're not doing a sidekick deck, she's a pretty useful ability. She can get rid of some big heavy hitters like Hulk and such. And then we have yet another Phoenix. This is a villain Dark Phoenix who's against X-Men. You can target a character with the X-Men affiliation. If they're named Wolverine or Cyclops, do 2 damage to its owner. This one's a very specific card if they're using Wolverine or Cyclops. But it is kind of cool thematically. I don't think you'll see this one used a lot in tournaments, unless you see, well, there's a lot of Wolverines out there. But as it is, anyway, these are the 3 different cards that will be available in this January's organized play. All right, whenever you're ready.
Okay. So you want to know my favorite game, the game that most influenced me, or?
You can pick. Let's go with one that influenced.
Okay, I think the one that really influenced me was Power Grid as a designer because
you spoke like right after I did.
Oh, sorry.
So pause and then go ahead.
Okay. The game that influenced me the most, I'd say, would be Power Grid because it showed me that while elegance is vital and important to a game, it's okay to be a little complicated if it serves the game, and it's okay to make something that might be a little bit of a beast of a game but if it turns out that it's got really great decisions, that can actually be enjoyable. The complexity of the game can be fun if the complexity is fun. Now, that's not to say that elegance is a bad thing, but if you can have a game that has no unnecessary parts, but is still a lot to consider and a lot to think about, you might have a game that's really, really good. So that really showed me that that's a valid direction as well, and that was an important game for me.
Hi, Suzanne here with this week's featured board game app. Puzzle games are a dime a dozen in the App Store, but when Ravensburger gets involved, it gives you hope you're going to get a good one. Take It Easy was originally released in 1983. Let's take a quick look at how it holds up as an app. In Take It Easy, you place hexes covered in colored stripes into a play area. Each color corresponds to a number, and if you complete a stripe across the entire play area of that color, you get that amount of points. The app for Take It Easy is a solid port of the board game. The colors are vibrant, and the simplicity of the game mechanics make for an easy-to-use interface. The rules are so incredibly basic that it consists of a single splash window upon load. There's no tutorial, but again, with such a simple game, it's not missed. That's not to say this app skimps on some of the perks. The app comes with 3 different solo modes. The standard classic is fine, but I prefer progressive and puzzle mode over it. In progressive, you play against a timer to hit a target point value with varying placement rule tweaks. In puzzle mode, you start with a full board of tiles and you have to swap them in order to meet specific color targets. Because both of those modes build upon progress as you go, it's a shame the app does not support multiple player profiles. Multiplayer is interesting in this game because it's symmetrical in that each player gets the same tiles in the same order, the only variable being where you choose to place them. If you don't mind getting cozy, this game is pretty fun to play on a single device with another person. There's also online play via Game Center. This app is not in my top 10, but I do think it's great for killing time or relaxing. To me, it's kind of like the Bejeweled of board game apps. Take It Easy is a simple but polished execution of a simple but engaging abstract game. Give it a try.
So what's coming out from the Dice Tower this week? Well, a few reviews from the other contributors. From myself, we'll be taking a look at Corrigans here, which is from Matago, a Leprechaun-style family game. Another one of the Lost Legacies. Amber Root. This is a very interesting game. Assault and Doom Rock. A lot of people have been asking me to take a look at that one. Baseball Highlights 2045. Noble Treachery. King's Pouch from Korea. Santa's Bag, just in time for the holidays. Grog Island, and Trains, the Rising Sun expansion. So there's a lot of stuff coming out, and if I get it played enough, I've only played it 5 times so far, that will make sense when you see it. But I might review this one this week also. I'll tell you right now, it's so much fun. But anyhow, so that's what's coming up. You say, Vasel, you did 20 reviews last week. Why down to 10? Well, for one thing, we're doing a big live show, like I said, on Friday. And another thing is we're doing a lot of recording this week and prepping for next week, where we'll be posting some of our best of 2014. So that's exciting. I'm looking forward to talking about those games and talking about what we think were the best and worst games from 2014. But that doesn't give us an out this week. Much to do. I hope to see you guys at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let's get back to this.
Chaz Marler from Pair of Dice Paradise, and we're counting down my official top and bottom 3 games of 2014. These are the standouts that I played this year for the very first time. We passed the halfway point in this installment with my second favorite game that I played for the first time in 2014. Ooh, what is it? Well, I'll tell you what it isn't. It isn't a game. See, as I worked on this installment, it became more about a game designer whose games I played this year for the very first time. Allow me to explain. Some of you who are watching may already know my opinion of the board game Robo Rally. I played Robo Rally a decade ago, and I found the experience to be just as enjoyable as eating a sandwich in a public bathroom. So, when the opportunity came along to play another robot programming game, Volt Robot Battle Arena, designed by Emerson Matsuuchi, I was less than optimistic. I had become so tainted by the vile bile of my experiences with Robo Rally that I played my first game of Volt with a frown. However, halfway through it I discovered this strange sensation like could it be I was enjoying a robot programming game? Yes. In fact, this game currently holds a very solid position within my top 20 favorite games of all time. What I really appreciate about Volt is the same thing that I appreciate about Emerson's previous game, Tricks and Treats. It presents several simple concepts, but then adds just a bit of manageable chaos into the mix. So I'm really looking forward to seeing if he ups his game again with his third design, Cypher Ops, which was recently renamed Spectre Ops and will be published by Plaid Hat Games. I hope that Plaid Hat retains the soul and streamlined chaos that Emerson instills into his games. And that this time next year, I hope I'll be talking about another one of his designs in my list of top games. We'll see.
Tom Vasel,
Jason Levine.
Today we're taking a look at a question about Party Dave. This person has Party Dave in their group, and Party Dave is funny. Everyone likes to be around him. He's a nice guy. But Party Dave just has a hard time concentrating on the game. He's always on his phone. He's always doing things when he should be playing the game. In fact, sometimes he even wins when doing that. But it's kind of annoying for everybody else. And they want to just smack the phone out of his hand, which I'm
getting a business call here.
Are you really?
No, come on.
Oh. So, how do you deal with Party Dave? Now, I've said before how to do it in the past. I'll mention it briefly, but we'll give the floor to Jason. How does he deal with it? Is it curl up in a ball and say nothing?
No. If you're playing a game in the middle of the game, usually I'll just wait for the person. If the person has something important that they're doing, I'll be like, okay, take your time.
Wow, but what if they're texting the whole game? Like, what if, let's say you're playing Power Grid, and they're just texting the whole time. And in this game, you're constantly in auctions, you're constantly involved.
Yeah, if you're constantly involved, then I'd say, hey, how important is your texting? If it's very important, then can you take 5 minutes, go away and do what you need to do, and then come back? I'd rather have someone take 5 minutes away than have them constantly doing it every minute, like every 10 minutes doing one. Just take care of your business in one shot. If the text is that important, like if I got a business thing, I would step away, or I do it at the table sometimes, but I'm like, hang on, it's my work, I got to answer a quick call, and then I'll answer the call, and then I'll be back on the game again after that. But if you're doing it constantly throughout the thing, that's a different story. But most people, if it's that important, they could usually finish it quickly, and they shouldn't have to constantly be on texting during a whole game.
Yeah, I don't really know. I mean, I used to say, hey, you need to talk to these people and deal with it. I did, but so many people are doing it. This past week, I don't know if you were in the game with me, we were playing against some people, and they were texting the entire game. And I just didn't say anything. Whatever. I talked to Jason, and I talked to the other people who were playing the game and involved, and they were texting, and they would stop texting when it was their turn and do stuff. But I just felt like, I don't know, it seems rude, but for the younger generation, it's not as big of a deal to them.
Yeah, I mean, they need to make a law like, don't text and drive, don't text and game.
But I do understand that people get texts and things during games and such. But to deal with this person, if it really is bothersome, let's say the whole group is bothered by it, then you need to discuss it. I might actually make some group policies per se and say, these are things that we're doing. This is like a no cell phone zone, except for emergencies and obviously I need you to pick me up or like things. Well, but if you're just talking back and forth, just sending, like, hey, what'd you think of the Avengers? Oh, it was a great movie, and back and forth they go.
Yeah.
That's not really critical stuff.
Most of the time when we're doing stuff on a cell phone during a game, it's usually, oh, we're talking about some movie. Let's look up and see who the actor was in that movie.
But that's different because that's part of the group conversation.
But that's usually when I use the phone is for that, or if I get a work call.
There was a time you were dating, and I had to curtail your use.
Now, when you're dating someone, you have to text this girl back and forth 20 times because she won't accept no for an answer.
I'm just saying.
Then everyone else at your table looks at you and goes, "It's a girl, isn't it?" And I just sit there and go, yep, it's a girl.
I just want to take the phone and say, I am breaking up with you. Boom. Busy playing a game. Don't do that. Not a good idea. So, I mean, really, you got to take if everyone in a group likes to text, then you're the odd person out. I'm just finding that even though I'm not someone who wants to text all the time, in fact, I pretty much hate texting, period. But I understand that people are just used to doing it all the time everywhere, so I have to be understanding of that. At the same time, they have to be understanding of the group dynamic.
Exactly. And, I think that in general texting is okay, but in limited use. You shouldn't be texting 20 different people during a game and not paying attention, except when it's your instant of turn. You should actually pay a little attention to the game, because that's why you're there, to have fun with your friends, not to be chit-chatting with someone else. You could do that at another time.
Anyway, until next time, I'm Tom Vasel.
Jason Levine.
Send your questions to dicetower@gmail.com.
So this week, as part of a free segment thing coming up over the next few weeks, we're going to be looking at things that are slightly not ruined, but hinder game sessions, and we're going to be looking at downtime.
Downtime, well, that is the time you don't want to be in, quite frankly. It's the downtime. That time when you're adding stuff up and you're totting things and you're having to wait for other things to happen in a game. It's frustrating.
It's the sitting around. It is very, very frustrating. And we're going to be looking at what can be done. Now, there are games that have more downtime. There are games that have very little downtime. Robinson Crusoe, recently a very good cooperative game, has literally no downtime because you do everything together and work together. Others, like Twilight Imperium and Firefly, which are all amazing games, do have larger downtime periods. So what can we do to make it better? First of all, I say one of the most important things is find that optimal amount of players that you can play with. Sometimes it's 3 players in a 4 or 5 player game. Other times it's 2 in a 3 or 4 player game. Find the optimal amount of players, which makes it less stressful with the downtime.
Yes, indeed. And there's that game coming out next year that you're very interested in, which looks to remove a lot of the sort of hard work, doesn't it? From, calculating moves and movements.
Yeah, recently come out via Kickstarter is Golem Arcana, which takes away a lot of the downtime because it's all done via stylus and done in-app. So all of the figuring out in the war game sense, which creates downtime.
All the maths, all the calculating.
It's done all for you.
It's fantastic.
Another thing to do is to honour build, or to honour buy, or to honour anything really, where you, if you got to the end of towards the end of your turn and you just have to pick a card and it's not going to adversely affect the next player, then move on. Let them pick that and do that and carry on to keep it moving. And the third thing, I guess, that is quite important in trying to do it is figure out what you're going to do while the other people are doing stuff.
Yeah, don't wait for your turn and then sit there like this.
So there you go. A couple of tips to try to help you with downtime.
And then I add that. How does that out to?
I was corresponding with someone today because I had gotten a game of theirs to review, and the game was frankly abominable. And so I emailed them and said, am I missing something? And lo and behold, they had redone the rules, so the game was not abominable, it was merely truly awful. And they made a comment, which I've gotten from many people before, saying, Well, this game isn't for people who want to play deep strategy games. It's for people who, it's for people who just want to be casual and have a lot of fun. And I thought about this because I'm kind of two minds about this. See, in a sense, it's easy for us as gamers to become snobbish about this, right? Some people are over there having fun with a simple dexterity game or a fun card game, and we sit there and we go, well, I mean, if that's what makes you have fun, but look at what we have. Right, there's obviously, we got to be careful about that, because while we may find enjoyment in these strategies, some people may like this lighter game. And we have to be very cautious sometimes that we're not overzealous in our, all right, look, I know you like this game, but you're just missing out on what's so much better. Sometimes what people like is what people like. And we have to accept that. But I am much less accepting of this on the designer side. You can come to me and go, well, yeah, the game I just designed isn't really strategic, but it's for people who, just want to have fun. But if I look at your design and it's a lazy, just garbage piece of design, and I really, my sympathy for you goes down tremendously, because as a designer, you have so many resources available to you. You have Board Game Designers Forum, you have Board Game Geek, you have the internet, your YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. There is the Proto-Spiel. There's all sorts of groups that get together and talk about games. It's crazy, all that information that's out there. And if you go, well, I just want to make something simple. Yeah, if it's something you can design in your sleep, if it's something where you roll dice, move on the board, and do what it says, or it's a game where you're playing cards and you're just playing a card and seeing what happens, that's lazy game design. And that I have a lot less sympathy for. The people who play it might enjoy it, but you know what? There are a lot of simple games, like Splendor, for example. But even Splendor can be very complicated for people. Forbidden Island, very simple game, but does something unique and different and refreshing, so that when people play it, they're like, oh. Games don't have to be these big things of strategy, and this is another rant that I'll be talking about later about the whole heavy gaming thing. But here's a good example. I'll be talking about this one later this week. Santa's Bag. Santa's Bag is a game in which you are collecting resources and building toys with them. This is an incredibly simple game. It is a game that is meant for kids, but adults can and will enjoy it. But it's very simple. But it takes some new things and puts them in a simplistic frame and has a decent game behind it. Sure, it's going to be too simple for strategy gamers, but it's a solid game, and I applaud it and think it does what it's supposed to be doing very well. Then I get Game X, and Game X is just, it has low artwork style, it might have some forced humor in it, and it's basically play this card, make someone else draw 3. Play this, you win the game type stuff. And that is just lazy garbage designing. So does that make me a game designer, reviewer, critic, snob? Perhaps. So play what games you want. I'm okay with that. I may not agree with what you like, but when it comes to designing, come on, up your game, guys. These guys did a good job. They made a simple game for the mass market, for the public, and it's solid, works for them. Gamers might say, it's too simple for me. But they cannot say it's a badly designed game. There's a difference between being too simple and being poorly designed. And as a designer, you need to know the difference. And that's it for Board Game Breakfast today, folks. As I try not to fall over here, lots of exciting games. I mean, some of these games I'm reviewing this week are amazing. Okay, anyway, I'll see you guys back here at noon to answer some of your questions. My daughter's podcast is the second of that one. The Dice Tower Next Gen is going up this week, and it's on iTunes now, so you can look for it there. Man, so much good stuff coming. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching Board Game Breakfast.
Thanks for watching Board Game Breakfast. Tune in each week for your daily dose of gaming goodness with Tom Vasel and all the gang. Until next time, I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching Board Game Breakfast, a Dice Tower production, sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., an amazing place to buy board games. Cool stuff, in stock, at CoolStuffInc.com.